welcome to another Getting Started stream live on Behance. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, and I'm super pumped. I've been watching Adobe live streams all day, and there have been some incredible talent, and I can't even come close to what I've seen today. I hope you're all doing well. I see a lot of you in the chat. I see Dana, Elizabeth, Kevin, Ruth, Chris, Tom, Anel, Tim, one of our great mods, Noel. Hey everyone, let me know where you're from. I love seeing where everyone's from. There's always some incredible places all around the world that you guys are all tuning in from, and I'm super pumped to be here. Today we're going to be tackling the daily challenge, and if you saw earlier this morning, Marissa was live, kicking it all off. We have 2 weeks of incredible daily challenges, and today we are starting with designing a finance app, a personal finance app. And I'm going to be tackling that for the next hour or so. We have someone from Area 51, that's wonderful. I have an echo apparently, that's not good. Hopefully my audio's okay. If I have an echo, I'm sorry. Big echo, oh no. Let me try turning this off. And I'll try turning this off. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Let me know if that helps. But just to go over the schedule again, we have Temi, Shauna, Jake, and Reza. Absolutely incredible. They were on today. We had some Photoshop action with Temi and Shauna. Oh, better? Okay, good. I fixed it, hopefully it stays fixed. Let me know again if I have echoes. And then we had Jake with some incredible animations, and Reza just ended with some incredible... Music is too loud. Oh no, okay, hold on, let me fix that. Okay, how's that? Audio problems always causes me trouble. Fixed. Hey Kayla, thank you. Kyla. So yeah, we have some incredible talent all this week. Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're back again next week. But we also have the daily challenges, which is what we're going to get to today. So if I hop over to my screen, we have the new Behance Daily Creative Challenge landing page, and you have all the information you can possibly need. And I would encourage you to go ahead, if you're interested at all, just hit that register button. It's going to be fun. And you can submit it directly to Behance. But what's even cooler is obviously XD's free. But you also have a Slack channel. You guys can jump in here. We're talking all day. Let me hop over there actually. Here's our Slack channel. Announcement. Oh, that's me. I'm live. We have design feedback where we're in there critiquing. We have help if you need any, and introductions. And we have a ton of people just saying hi and introducing themselves. It's been fun. I've been in here all day while I've been watching the amazing Adobe live streams. So definitely join us in Slack, and we are going to jump in and get started. And if you do want to participate and you haven't yet, definitely download the template. We have a free Adobe XD template you can download right here. You can also re-watch Marissa's video from this morning. And you can design right along with me. I'm going to be taking this challenge, or you can design it at your own pace and then submit it to Behance using the tag XD Daily Challenge. And Tim is posting it in the chat right now, so you can jump in there and get started. Also, we have on our Adobe XD website, we have a resources section. This has been fairly recently updated. If I head over here, we have UI kits for Apple iOS, material design, Microsoft UWP design. And then we have all these kits down here, which is great, which it can certainly help with your designs. We have, this UI kit has a ton of elements. We have some stuff for smartwatches, if you're doing a navigation app. And we actually have one down here, the Kuoin. I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's kind of financy. It's cryptocurrency. So that might help you with this daily challenge. And I also like, whenever I'm kind of tackling some sort of a project, I love looking for inspiration. And I mentioned this last time I was on. Inspiration is huge. And just go on Behance and just start browsing. So go into the Discover section, and you can actually go into the UI and UX section. And then right at the top, you can search finance. And this will kind of give you some inspiration on the direction you should be taking your app. If I go over here, I have a few that really stood out to me. This one here, I love the pattern at the top. So we're going to kind of be pulling some of that stuff for today's design. And this one had some interesting stuff too. The chart looks really nice. And then we have down here this kind of progress circle, which I'm going to show you how to create in Adobe XD as well. So let me hop over to Adobe XD. Here is the template that you all can download. Let me know in the comments if you have downloaded this, if you are working on this challenge, or if you've already submitted it. And you can go ahead and start off with a template. And this is the template that we provided for you. And we have over here some beautiful color assets and color schemes that you can use. And the nice thing is, these are very easy to add to your assets panel. So if I switch over to my assets panel, and if you notice, the icon has changed at the bottom left-hand corner. It's a brand new assets icon. Mind blown. What I can do, if I like this color scheme in particular, I can simply click on this color and press the plus button, and that'll add it directly to my assets panel. I can even select multiple colors, add those as well. So I can do all of them at once or just one at a time. And you can do the same thing for character styles as well. Let's say, for example, that I really like this character style. It's not great, but just in case I do, I can press character styles, and then I can use this anywhere in my document. And what's really cool about this is they can all update. And you'll see this as time goes on. But let me grab this and drag this over here. So now we have 2, right? If I wanted to change this across my entire document, let me actually put this over here. And I'm going to go over here. I know this is the color. I'm going to right click, click edit, and I can change this. And you're noticing it doesn't only change here, but it changes here as well. So it knows that that color is being used elsewhere in your document, and it's going to update, which is really cool. And as Chris mentioned in the chat, you can also do it on your whole artboard. So do I have an art? Is this an artboard? I don't know if this isn't an artboard. This is just an element on the pasteboard. But let's see if that works actually. Is it everything in here? No, it's not. But yeah, if you have an artboard, this one's not going to work because it's pretty much just black and gray. But if I go over here, whoops, and click plus, it's going to add all those colors. Again, they're all basically, it's like 50 shades of gray over here, but you can add that. So if you have a very colorful artboard, select the artboard, press that plus button, and you're set. So we're going to have some fun today. We could go ahead and start with the template, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually scroll down here, and we're going to create our own. So we're going to create, whoops, we're going to create this from scratch, and I'm going to head over, I'm going to grab my artboard tool to the left, and over here to the right, I have, PG please, sorry Chris. We have different templates we can start with. So I'm going to grab my iPhone 6, 7, and 8, and I have a new artboard. I'm going to place it right over here, and I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to try and tackle a lot of this stuff. Whenever I'm working on a project, I like to, plan things out. Sometimes I'll sketch it. Sometimes I'll just write things down on a notepad. And for the home screen, I want to kind of tackle total balance. I want a monthly budget, and that's what I'm going to use the progress circle for. We're going to have some transactions, navigation bar, this whole sort of thing. But let's not waste any more time. Let's start designing. So we're going to start off. I actually want to add a little bit of an element at the top, which is our status bar for the iPhone. And if I switch over here, I have one of the UI kits that I just showed you a few moments ago on the Adobe XD website. And all the way down here we have these elements, and I can just grab one of these, and you can see it's outlined in green, which means it's a symbol, right? So I'm going to copy, switch back over here, and then paste. And I can move it in place if I wanted to, just like that. And if I do want to make sure it's centered, you see that line that goes straight down the middle? That's telling me it's centered with the document. But if I want to do it very quickly, over here to the right, I can press Align Center. And it's going to center that in the center of my document. Fancy. All right, so on the header, I'm actually going to have a little menu icon right about here. I'm going to have a send icon so we can send money very quickly to people, and a total balance, and obviously the background header. And I kind of want to start with a little bit of a fun. Sometimes I do wireframes, but sometimes I do design while I'm designing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a gradient to this background. We're going to have basically the top section is going to be nice and white, and then the bottom section is going to have a gradient. I'm going to open up my Creative Cloud libraries, and I recently added a bunch of gradients that I downloaded. I found a post on Behance that offered a bunch of gradients, and I think some of these will look really nice. So I'm going to add a background, or just a rectangle in the background, just so I can house this gradient so it's not like exploding off my artboard. I'm going to make sure to move it behind my status bar. I'm going to name it background, I definitely don't need a border. And I'm going to drag this gradient, and you're going to see it's a linked gradient. So if I do edit this elsewhere, back in Photoshop, for example, it'll update as well, which is fantastic. So there's my gradient. And now above it, I want a white background at the top. And that'll house my total balance. So I'm just going to drag a border somewhere right around here. Looks pretty nice. And it's okay if it goes off the artboard. It still remains inside of it. I'm going to put it underneath the status bar, but above the background, I'm going to name this header. Now, I'm a big fan of curvy lines. I think 2018, there's been a lot of curvy lines and gradients and things like that. And I can easily do that if I double click and then add a point like this. You'll see by default, it's just a very straight line. But if I double click on this line again, I have these little points. And I can just drag this to make a nice curvy line at the top for my header. And I can move this out if I wanted to. And that looks pretty nice. I'm also going to turn off the border. 2018 has been a curvy year, that is for sure. When's the deadline for submissions? You can pretty much enter whenever you like. Every day has a different challenge, but you can enter it today, tomorrow, Friday, doesn't matter. So I'm gonna add some additional curves in the background. I'm gonna duplicate this layer by holding down Command or Control and pressing the D key on the keyboard. I'm gonna make sure to move this one to the back. And I'm going to decrease the opacity so we can see them. Whoops. And then if we double click, we have access to those points again. And maybe I'll want this one curved the other way. Just like that. And I'll duplicate it one more time and make one more edit. There we go. That kind of works. Kind of. Could be better. Maybe that. Ah, that's looking a little bit better. It's all about revisions and iterations. Okay, so we're gonna leave it like that so we don't waste too much time. But I'm liking the look of this so far. So I want to add a header at the top so we know what screen we're on. And then I'm going to add the total balance right below. So I'm gonna press the text tool at the right, or the left, that's the left. And I'm gonna type in home. Beautiful. I'm going to put it in the center. Again, you can use the align center icon. Another whoops from Howard. Yeah, there'll be many whoopses along the way. Now I wanted to define some text. So for this, Helvetica, it's not bad, but I do want to use Avenir. I'm a big fan of Avenir Next. Let's actually go for some condensed. And then I'm going to bring this text down. You can grab this little handle at the bottom of your text and just drag it to make it larger or smaller, and place it where you want on your document. Again, I'm going to place it right in the center. The color, not too bad. It's not too dark, but it's not too light. And I do want to make sure to use this throughout my document. So I'm going to head back to my assets panel, I'm actually going to get rid of this one because we don't need that. Press the plus button beside character styles, and now it's going to save. So if I want to make changes to all instances of this text later on, you can definitely do that just by right-clicking, pressing edit, and making the changes there. Avenir represent, indeed. So next we want to do the total balance. So we're going to press the text icon again, or the tool. How much money should we have? Let's go for like $42,501. It's probably a lot more than I have in my bank account, but we're going to run with it. I'm going to make this nice and large. And I still have Avenir Next Condensed selected. But I may want, regular looks a little bit boring. We want that to really stand out because that's a lot of money. Let's see how bold looks pretty good. But I'm not really feeling the color. So what I want to do, I'm going to grab my eyedropper and I'm just simply going to select a color on this page. That looks decent. And it kind of blends in with the rest of the artboard. That looks good. And I'm going to make sure to save this color, press the plus button over here. And let's actually name this total balance. Whoops. There we go. Spelling is good. I'm gonna grab a sip of water. How's everyone doing today, by the way? Have you been here the whole day watching the amazing streams? I saw Temmie's stream earlier this morning. Incredible. His work is amazing. So this down here is gonna tell us its total balance. And that's obviously way too big. We're gonna make that nice and small, and we probably don't need it So bold. Angelica's been here all day. That's incredible. Fair to middling. And I'm going to decrease the opacity just like that. All right. Now looking at this, there is definitely a large space here. So what I can do is I can just select all of these elements here, hold down Shift to deselect the background, and just move it up a little bit so we don't have that massive space at the top. Beautiful. So the next element, now that this top section is done, I'm going to add the progress meter, which is basically like the monthly budgets. And this has been fun because there's a few ways to create one. And I found a pretty decent way. I'm going to show you how I originally created it. I basically grabbed my ellipse tool, dragged out a circle. I'm going to turn, I'll keep that on for now. I'm going to double click and I'm going to put a point exactly where I want the progress meter to stop. Let's say right around here. All right. Now I'm going to grab the pen tool and you're going to notice there's one point at the top. So I can click on that, click anywhere else outside and then press escape to end it. And then I can click on one, hold down Shift, click on the other and the other, but the one before that point and press delete. I'm going to turn off the fill, set the border to white, and then crank up the size. Now that looks pretty good, but someone on Twitter, let me hop over to Safari here. How's Slack doing, by the way? Slack is doing good. All right, I'm gonna hop over to Safari here, or Chrome, and someone on Twitter tweeted me this, and they basically showed me an easier way to create a progress meter for in Adobe XD, which is really cool. And Mighty Alex on Twitter, he even said that he might be creating a plugin for Adobe XD to create these really easily. So let me show you how that's done. I'm going to switch back over to Adobe XD. We're going to delete this. It requires some math, but the really cool thing, watch this. I'm going to create a circle one more time. The really cool thing is that Adobe XD can handle math. Whoops, where did it go? There we go. Another whoops. It can handle math, which is great because I don't really understand math that well. I'm not the greatest in math. So I have my notes here so I don't get this wrong. So what you do, I'm going to turn the fill off. I'm going to set the border pretty high and crank that up. Just leave it like there for now. And what you want to do is take note of the width of this circle. So right now it is 158 pixels across. Take note of that. Now, in the dash section, you're going to enter 3.14. I know this is getting crazy. Times the width, so which is 158. That's 148 times 158. And then you're going to times, and then in brackets, so it does that first, the percentage. So if I wanted this progress meter to, let's say, be, I don't know, 75%, we're going to put 75 divided by 100 and then close the brackets and press return. And then in the gap section, it's going to duplicate that, but that's not what we want. We actually want to do 3.14 times the width again, 158. And that'll give us basically a 75% progress meter, which is really cool. Did someone mention pie? Yes, I did. I really want some pie. I have some pie in the kitchen, but I don't want to leave you guys. Maybe I'll bring some for all of you. And then I can go ahead and just rotate this any way I want, and I'll leave it right about there. So now it's like 75% filled for my monthly budget. So Alex, if you're watching by any chance, thank you for this tip. I know he mentioned he didn't create this tip or find out, he found it from someone else, but it's really cool. And if he can create a plugin that can kind of avoid all that math mumbo jumbo, that'd be fantastic. So we have our progress meter, and we can also change the caps. So if we want it a little bit rounded, we can do that as well. That looks pretty nice. And then in the center, we're going to type out monthly budget. There we go. We're going to make sure to center this. Avenir Next is good. Let's make it nice and bold. And we'll set the color to white. Put that right in the center. And increase the text just a little bit. That looks pretty good. Not bad. What we can also do is grab this guy in the background. We're going to duplicate it. And then in the layers panel, I'm not naming my layers, so I apologize. I'm going to turn off the dash and turn off the gap, and then just decrease this a little bit. So we have a little bit of an indicator of how much is missing, which kind of gives it a nice little touch, little flair. Looks good. All right, so with the monthly budget now done, we want to get to some transactions. And then after that, we're going to add a navigation bar at the bottom. So for the transactions section, we're going to grab my little rectangle tool over to the side and simply drag one down this way, just to house the transactions. I don't really want them floating on that gradient background. Can you repeat that math mumbo jumbo again? Yes, and I'll also retweet it. So if you follow me on Twitter @Pinsky, or go to Mighty Alex's Twitter account, but it's basically, actually, let me head over here. So you take note of the width of the ellipse, and then the dash is 3.14 times the width times % divided by 100. I know it's a lot to take in, and Alex, please make that plugin. And then gap is just 3.14 times the width. Now I did notice when I just did the dash and press return, it gave me the result I was looking for. So maybe that's all you might have to do, but experiment with it. All right, back to Adobe XD. So we have our housing for our transactions, just like that, which looks pretty good. I mean, it's a white box. How good could it look? We're going to type out right above transactions. We want to make sure that this is actually justified to the left. Make this a little bit bigger. I'm not feeling the bold for this one, so maybe I'll go medium. That looks okay. You're welcome. So, transactions. Now down here, we want to actually create a repeat grid. So I'm going to start by just filling in the information. This will basically be my latest transaction. So let the first one, let's say I went to Chipotle and I can't see my text. So, oh, did you notice that? There's spell check in Adobe XD, one of the new features that just shipped today. If you go up to the edit menu, we have spelling and grammar, which is wonderful. Everyone needs spell check, but we can't see anything. So I'm going to change the text to a darker color. And let's actually break away from the condensed. Let's go for just Avenir next. It's a little bit large. Bring that down. And who doesn't love Chipotle? Or any sort of burrito, right? And we're going to put the date. What day is it? September 18th, I think. 2018. Make this a little bit smaller so it's not too overpowering. And you're noticing as I'm dragging things around, everything's snapping into place. Those guides are super helpful. Yeah, spell check. I know. That's one of the best. I mean, we shipped responsive resize, we shipped timed animate or transitions, and now we have spell check. I mean, how amazing is that? Is there a way to lock the text and copy once you put it in so you don't actually change what's written? I mean, there's a lock icon, but it doesn't change. I don't think it changes. Oh, it does. Haha, you learn something new every day. So over here in the layers panel, there's a lock icon, which not only prevents you from moving that text, but it also prevents you from double clicking and changing it. There you go. I just figured it prevents you from moving it. Shows what I know. So, so we have the name of the transaction, we have the date, and I'm gonna make one more over here, and this is gonna be the price. So I'm going to make minus, how much is Chipotle? $9 and I don't know, let's say 23 cents. And this one is going to be, we're going to make this nice and visible and make it a little bit bigger. Beautiful. So we have this, something's missing. I think, you know what? I might want an icon just to give a little bit more of a, Jeffrey says $9.85. Okay, let's go with that. $9.85, very specific. It might be right without the guac. Oh yeah, with the guac it's like $14, right? Something like that. So will it be interactive? It can be, and we will definitely do some prototyping, time permitting. I think we'll have time. We will definitely do some prototyping. I'm going to zip through this. So if I go over to Finder, I actually have some icons over here, and let's look for a coin icon. I'm just going to grab this, drag it in here. Whoops, I dragged it into that shape. I'm going to drag it onto the pasteboard. And let's actually go for, what color should this be? Maybe not purple, because that might blend too much. It's not bad, but maybe like a bluish. All right, let's go for that. So let's put this coin right here. We have our transaction right over here, and we have the price. Those icons are from Subtle Icons, I believe. I did purchase those, but Pro tip, if you go up to your Creative Cloud app and you go into Assets and the Marketplace, you can actually search for icons. And there are a bunch of icon sets. You can find individual icons or icon sets. And I actually have one in my Creative Cloud libraries. If I go to icons, I have this icon set right here. I can drag right into Adobe XD. Ooh, it's a large file. And everything's moving around. There we go. And these icons are from the Marketplace in your Creative Cloud application. They are free to use, and you can basically just pick and choose icons to use in your project, which is really cool. So definitely, if you don't want to pay for icons, definitely go to your Creative Cloud Marketplace and do some searching. You'll be surprised what you can find. So we have our first transaction, and now we could duplicate this a million times, but that's just a pain. So what we're going to do is use a repeat grid. So I'm going to make sure to select all these icons. So I'm going to select this one, hold down Shift, click on the name, the date, and the transaction. Now just to organize these in my layers panel, I want to put these into a group, and you can easily do that with Command or Control G on your keyboard, and I can name this transaction. And now once that's done, to turn it into a repeat grid, it doesn't have to be in a group for a repeat grid, but it just makes it a little bit easier on the eye in the layers panel. Over to the right, we have our repeat grid option. If you press that, you'll notice we now have a green handle below and to the right. And if I pull this down, we now have more transactions. And this basically looks like an average week in my house, just Chipotle every single day. And I can go in here, let's say we had Chipotle yesterday, and I'm not sponsored by Chipotle, I just enjoy it, and it's the first thing that came to mind. And I can basically just change the text for all of these, and if I added guac one day, I can just add $14, and I should probably align this to the right, and then move it over. There we go. So we have our transactions, and you can go through and edit all of these to your heart's content, but to save time, it's all Chipotle all day. So we have more or less, how's the spacing between, that's a good question. So if you click on your repeat grid and you hover over, you'll see this beautiful pink box in between each transaction. And if we had more this way, you'll have one horizontally and vertically, which is really nice. And if I just drag this, I can make them really close, or I can make them further apart. Just like that. Now, to finish off this screen, let's create very quickly a navigation bar at the bottom so we can quickly navigate during the prototyping phase to additional screens. I'm going to grab my rectangle tool and drag out a navigation bar right at the bottom. I probably don't need a border. I'll keep it white. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab some more icons. Maybe I'll make this just a little bit, turn down the opacity to 95%, add a little bit of flavor to that. Let's hop over to my icons. Let's find a home icon. This is why I love icons. You can just grab an icon, drag it in, and pop it into place. And I'll worry about the colors in a second. So we have a home icon. We have, where'd my icons go? Here we go. We have let's find a list. This is going to be for our transactions. Put that over here for now. We have a wallet. That'll be for our credit cards. And let's say a profile icon. There we go. So now we have a bunch of icons. We need to align them. And this is another cool trick. So what you can do, if you select all of them, I'm actually going to put this one right around here. I'm going to line it up with that transactions background. Same thing with this one. I'm going to select all the icons, holding down my Shift key. And then I can align them. If I click right over here, I can distribute them horizontally and vertically. So they're all perfectly aligned. I don't have to worry about anything. Now, since we're on the home screen, we do want to change this icon, at least the color. Let's actually choose, the blue looks okay. And then these ones, I'm probably just going to drop the opacity. Just like that. Great. So we have our home screen, but the problem is we have all this stuff down here. So we want this home screen to be scrollable. So if I click on the home screen, the artboard, I can simply just drag this down. And now I have area to scroll, and I can click on my background, drag that down as well. So I have a nice gradient at the bottom. And I want to make sure if I have my artboard selected that vertical scrolling is on. So if I press the play button at the top, I can now scroll, but you're noticing the navigation bar is kind of doing its own thing, which I definitely don't want. So we need to fix some of these elements. So back in my layers panel, I'm going to make sure to select the navigation bar. I'm going to select all of the elements that are in the navigation bar, put them into a group again. Let's name this navigation. And then over to the right, we want to click fix position when scrolling. And now if I play, ooh, it fixes in place, which looks great. We may also want, can you please, oh yes, I can probably do that. So what you can do, grab the icons again and just move them up and to the side. You'll notice those lines, we now have it aligned to the navigation bar and the artboard. So that should look a little bit better. And if I wanted to, I can select these, move these in a little bit, move that one in, move this one in, and then if I select them all again and distribute horizontally, they'll all line up perfectly. Great. Now, I may also want the header to be fixed. So I'm going to select all of these icons, make them into a group, header, and fix. And if I play that, we now have a fixed header, but you're noticing because the header is not at the top of the layer stack, I'm going to move it right on top, and now we have a beautiful home screen. Lovely. Okay, so let's move on to the next screen. Next screen is going to be transactions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this home screen so I can work on a lot of the same elements. I can just kind of transfer them over. Select the artboard, hold down my Alt or Option key on the keyboard, and drag it over to the right. There we go. Now for this one, it's going to be transactions. Name your artboards. Oh yes, thank you, Jeffrey. I should do that. I'm going to double click on the name this home, name this one transactions. There's a lot of pressure live streaming. You forget to do things like name your layers or name your artboards, put things into groups. So this up here, instead of total balance, you can do Command D as well. There's a lot of ways you can duplicate things, but that's just the way I wanted to do it. I want to switch it up a little bit. So this will be last 7 days. And let's say in the last 7 days, between all that Chipotle, I don't know, it's probably $945. Make sure to center this. Boop. There we go. Now, instead of a monthly budget, we're going to delete this. Just delete all of it. Transactions we'll keep, but we'll move down a little bit. Got to select all of this stuff, move it down. And here we're actually going to create some sort of a chart that shows our spending over the last 7 days. Now, to do that, we're going to grab our line tool over to the left, make sure everything lines up, and you're noticing those smart guides are appearing. I can just drag a line right across my document. I'm going to change this color to white and make this border nice and large. Ooh, that's too large. That looks pretty good. Let me zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. And now we basically want 7-day period, right? So we're going to grab our text tool. Let's type out, let's start at the 10th. 10. Beautiful. It's a little bit too big. We're going to shrink this down. We don't need bold. Medium's probably good. Is that too big? Might be a little bit too big. And we basically want 7 of these. So we can create a repeat grid. And we can count out 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Beautiful. And I'm going to use this spacing to just space it all the way out so it lines up on the right-hand side. And then I can go in here. This is 11. This will be 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. There we go. That looks good. Looks fantastic. So now for the actual chart, we have this line that goes across our artboard. We need to start adding points. And you can do that by double clicking on the line. And then everywhere there's a date, I'm basically going to add a point. I'm going to click, 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 and go through until I have all 7 points. So I have one at the beginning and then 6 more after that. Now, by default, if I were to simply grab these points and drag them up, we have very straight lines, which isn't bad. You can definitely do that, but I want to go a little bit curvy, so I'm going to double click on each point. And you're noticing we have these little handles that pop out. That will allow us to create curved lines, right? So now when I drag this up, ooh, we have these beautiful curved lines. So this is basically our daily spending. Maybe on the 15th, we bought a lot of stuff. On the 16th, just a little bit. And the 10th, we'll just leave right around there. So now we have this great looking chart at the top of our artboard that basically shows us how much we've spent on a daily basis. But we want to kind of give the idea that, you know, maybe a cursor is hovering over one of these dates. So let's say the 15th, we'll do this one. We want to create like some sort of a circle. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool, create a little circle right about here. And I'm holding down my Option key and my Shift key to constrain it. Shift is constraining it, Option is creating it from the center. And turn off the border. Is that too big? Maybe it's a bit too big. There we go. And then let's Command or Control D and then make it a little bit smaller, create a little dot in the center. Little indicator icon, that looks pretty good. So now that kind of tells me that a cursor might be hovering over this date. And then over top of it, we want to actually write how much we spent that day. I'm gonna grab my rectangle tool, drag one out like this. And again, those smart guides are lining everything up, which is great. I'm going to add a little triangle right below. Let's fill that with white, turn off the border. Again, want to make sure to line this up. There we go. And I can double click and make some changes if I need to. And then to add these two together, I can select the rectangle or triangle, hold down Shift, click on the rectangle, and then, actually before I do that, I actually want to make this a little bit rounded, just a little bit. And then if I hold down Shift, click on the triangle, and add these together, now they are one shape. Beautiful. Knock the opacity down just a touch. And then in the center, let's say on this date, I spent $65.23. How's that looking? Not too bad. Not too shabby. I do want to put the date, or at least the month. So right up here, let's say September 2018. This will make nice and bold. And just line it up. I can justify it to the left. There we go. So we have our, just to recap, we have our transactions. We have our transaction icon, which is going to link to this screen. I can grab our transactions. Let me make sure these are all in a group and just bring this up a little bit. There we go. So now how do we make this actually do something? So let's go back to our home screen and we're going to link this up. But before I do that, I just noticed that this guy here should actually match this guy here. This is 32%. I can actually add this to my assets panel. Boop. That's just basically a color. And then turn this down to 32%. And this guy, I should have added this to my assets panel. Always add things to your assets panel, people. It'll save you a lot of trouble. And I can click on that and then increase the opacity. So we have our transaction screen. Now if I hop into my prototype mode, yep, I got it. And if I scroll down here, basically I want to tell Adobe XD when someone clicks on the transaction icon, it's going to go to this screen, right? So if I click and find this icon, you have this blue handle. I can drag it over to the right, let it go, and the trigger's going to be tap. It's going to transition, and the animation, I want to slide it over to the right. I can either do slide to the right or push to the right. Slide's kind of fancy, kind of overlaps the previous artboard. I'll ease it out and have a duration of 0.4 seconds. You don't want to go too far or too long. And if I press the play button and press the transaction icon, we have a beautiful transition. And then we can do the opposite. We can click on the home icon here, go back here, and slide to the left. Slide left. And goes to transactions, and it goes home. Looking pretty good. Should we tackle one more screen? Let's actually tackle a credit card screen. I'm going to duplicate this one more time. Again, you can select the artboard, press Command or Control D to do that as well. And this will be cards. And let's go back to design mode. How long did it take to learn so much about this program? Quite a while. I mean, not too long, but not overnight. I've been using it since the beta, way back when it was Project Comet. And I've kind of been learning ever since. So this will be credit cards. There we go. And I'm just going to delete all of this stuff. Where's my layers? Delete. Because we probably don't need any of that. Transactions we will get rid of as well. And we basically want a bunch of credit cards on this screen. So I'm going to make this our highlight icon. Drop this one to 32%. All right. And now for the credit cards, we're going to use another repeat grid. So I'm going to create one credit card here. And just so I can see it, I'm going to drag it down here. That looks good. I'm going to turn the border off. Let's go ahead and round the corners. I'm going to grab one of these guys, drag it in a little bit, make sure it's centered in my document. And what I want to do is Command or Control R to create a repeat grid and just drag this down. Just like that. And just like you were able to create this bigger spacing, you can also create much less spacing. But it's hard to see right now. All the credit cards are kind of overlapping each other and they're all white. So if I go over to Finder, where is Finder? And I go to my cards, I have these template credit cards. I can just drag these right into Adobe XD onto any of these. And it's basically going to populate. And because it's behind, I can just move this up over top of the header. And I now have a repeat grid with these credit cards, which is great. It's exactly what we want. And what would happen if someone clicks on one of these credit cards? It would probably go to another screen that kind of collapses everything and shows some transactions. So we're going to duplicate this, drag it over one more time. We're going to make the spacing a little bit shorter. Let's say it's going to focus on this credit card here. And we may want to grab our transactions from this artboard, copy it, paste it over here, make sure it's behind the navigation bar. And these will be the transactions for this specific credit card. Now we can wire it up. So if we go over here, let's say we're going to click on this one. It's going to go to this screen. We can actually, for this one, we probably don't want a transition. So we're going to do none. It's going to just appear. And then we've got to hook up the credit card icons. Drag this over here. We can slide it over to the right. Same thing with this one. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if I go here, if I right click, I can copy and paste interaction and it'll do that for me, which is great. And then home, I can do the same thing, copy. Oh, that one already did. And paste interaction. So let's see how things are looking. Play. We have our transactions. We go home. We can go to our credit cards. Nope, we did it wrong. So our credit card should actually link to this one first. There we go. Same thing with here. Let's try that again. It's all about trial and error. There's our transactions. We have our credit cards. And we can go home. And if we click on this credit card, it collapses and we have all the transactions for that specific credit card, which looks good. Did not know you can do that on the prototype section. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You can actually copy interactions and save a little bit of time. So one thing I kind of want to do, over here, transactions, it looks too repetitive. I actually want to pull in another one of these budgets. So I'm going to drag this down actually. And maybe right here we're going to have a few more circles. So I could go ahead and just copy this guy. I'm going to select both of these ellipses. I'm going to put them in a group. Progress. Maybe you know what? I'll grab the monthly budget as well. Copy. Head over to this artboard. Paste it. Obviously way too big. So we're going to drag this down. And you're noticing that just messed everything up. So we have to fix it. So we're going to select the top progress circle. And we're going to turn down the size quite a bit. Do the same for the other one. And now we're going to do some more math. So let's say this is going to be 90%, maybe. So 3.14 times the width of this circle, which is 95.22, times, and then in the little brackets, we have, let's say 95% divided by 100. And then this one, 3.14 times the width, 95.22. There we go. So we have 95%, and we can just rotate this just like that. And let's say this will be food. Make it a little bit bigger. Beautiful. Let me duplicate it one more time across. And instead of 95%, let's do 3.14 times the width again, and 95.22 times, let's go for 22% divided by 100. And now we have 22%. And this will be, what should this be? Auto, maybe? Auto. Spelling is great. How's everyone liking this so far? And then we'll do one more right across here. Make sure everything lines up. And this will be, what should this be? Amaze hats. Let's be shopping. Make this a little bit smaller. And we'll leave that at that. Should the line chart have round caps too? You know what? Maybe not. So we can easily grab this guy and just do this because we can. Oh, you're talking about this guy up here. Yeah, we can do that too. We can have round caps up there. We can have straight caps down here. We can go crazy. We can do whatever we want because we're designers, right? So there we go. So let's see how things are looking. We have our home screen, right? We have scrollable action, so we can scroll. We probably want to add a little bit more space down at the bottom so that it doesn't hit the top or it doesn't mess too much with the nav bar, right? There's some nice padding at the bottom. We can go to our transactions, which we have now our brand new progress circle budgets with our indicator at the top. That's a little bit too difficult to read, so I'd probably change that. Again, scrollable. I'll have to change the padding at the bottom. We have our credit cards. We can click on one, it collapses, and we have our transactions, again, scrollable. The fixed elements are a little bit weird, but it doesn't look too bad. But there we go. Things are looking pretty good. And then at this point, you can probably polish it up by adding additional elements. Let's say we want a menu icon at the top, right? I'm going to grab my line tool, drag one over here. Let's make this 2 pixels. Whoops. And I can turn this into a... Whoa, where did it go? I'll just duplicate it. And we now have a menu icon. And just to get a little bit fancy, I'll make this one a little bit shorter, and this one a little bit shorter as well. And I can turn this into... I can make it purple. And if I group this, call it my hamburger icon, place it into my header, and now as I reposition this, you're noticing now it's lined up with the home text, which looks good. And And I can easily copy this, or I can add it as a symbol. So if I go back to my assets panel and press the symbol icon, or the plus button, I now have my hamburger icon as a symbol. So if I go over here, I can easily drag one out, place it where I want it to, and now I have two symbols. And the cool thing is if I do decide to edit one of them, let's say I didn't like the color on this purple, right? So if I go back and edit one of these and change it to, like, let's say black, we now have the black changing on all of the symbols. So if you had 200 of these symbols spread across your document on all these different artboards, you can just edit one of them and it'll apply to all of them. Mario says, is it possible to make navbar fixed when switching between screens in prototyping? Not necessarily. What you could do is use overlays, an overlay transition. So let me show you how that would work. But basically, the navbar is, if it's fixed, it'll kind of go with the previous navbar. But an overlay transition, if I do have, let's say, another artboard, I'm going to have another iPhone 8 artboard. Let me put it down here somewhere. And I'll make, just very quickly, this won't be pretty, but I'll make a very quick menu. I'll make this a little bit darker, no border. Let's add a little bit of a shadow. 10 pixels to the left or to the right, a little bit blurry. And I turn off the fill of this artboard. For the home screen, what I can do in the prototype mode, grab my new menu icon, right? And link it all the way down to my new menu, just down here. And instead of transition, I have overlay. And right up here, it'll basically tell me this is where it's going to end up. I can move it across. If this artboard was smaller, I can move it anywhere I want. I'm going to slide it to the right. So now what happens here, if I press play, instead of the whole artboard transitioning to another artboard, just the menu from that previous artboard flies out as an overlay. So the navbar stays. It's a little bit limiting because you can't have so much information on an overlay. You can have a lot of information, but the navbar kind of, to answer your question, the navbar will be different on every artboard, if that makes sense. It may not make sense. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so the menu is there. We have our home screen with our monthly budget. We have some transactions using a repeat grid. We have our navbar at the bottom, which is fixed into place, as well as our header. We have our transactions over here with this beautiful chart we created with a line, and we were able to double click on the points to create them as nice and curvy. We have, this is kind of not lined up. There we go. Now it's lined up. It bothered me. We have additional progress meters showing how much of our budget we spent on food, auto, shopping, our transactions at the bottom again, our credit cards, and they collapse. So that's pretty much where we're going to end it today. I hope this helped some of you, especially those who are just getting started. Definitely make sure to head over to the Behance page, behance.net/dailycreativechallenge. Look through some of this stuff. Make sure to register. Join our Slack. We're in here. We're talking. We're having fun. Today's challenge was personal finance app, which is what we just tackled. Tomorrow, who knows? And we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we're right back at it again next week. And every day at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, we have the wonderful Marissa on stream, live from San Francisco, kicking off each daily challenge, which is super fun. Also, head over to the Adobe XD website, click on that resources tab, and just download all the UI kits because they're fantastic. And you can use any of these for your projects, especially this one if you're doing the daily finance application. Grab this cryptocurrency UI kit, and there's a lot of elements in there you might be able to use. Are you going to post this on Behance? I might. I'm going to polish it up a little bit, but once I have it ready to go, I can basically, assuming that all of this stuff wasn't here, I can go up to the top, I can click on the share icon, and I can publish my prototype. Let me actually just do that now. I'm going to name this Finance App. Do I want to allow comments? Sure, why not? Oh, sure, yes. Oh no. Something doesn't contain interactions. Well, once that was done, I can basically grab a link or an embed code, and I can publish that directly on Behance. Or I can just go ahead and export the individual images for each artboard and paste them there as well. So there's lots of ways you can post on Behance, but if you do, make sure to use the tag XD Daily Challenge. That way we can find it. We can go to Behance, we can search XD Daily Challenge, we can see all your stuff, and they do take a look at some of them on the stream. So definitely do that. This was fun. Let me know if you are taking part in the Daily Challenge. Tweet at Adobe XD. You can tweet at me at Pinsky if you want. And I'll definitely be back tackling another Daily Challenge at some point. And I hope you guys all enjoyed this. Hope you have fun. It's been a long day of streaming. Not for me. This is just an hour. But Paul Tranny was on. Voodoo Val was on. And some amazing talent. Again, let me open up and let me show you the schedule for tomorrow. Temi, Shauna, Jake, and Reza all going to be on tomorrow with Paul Tranny and Voodoo Val. It's going to be a fun day. And they are some incredibly talented people. They have a lot more talent than I do, but definitely come back tomorrow morning. And Marissa's on at 8:30 a.m. So definitely check that out. This has been fun. Hope you all had fun. Hope you all learned something. And I'll see you all in another stream. Take care, everyone.